Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's iOS update. This time out, a portable audio interface for your iOS devices that also will work with your Mac or your PC. Let's get started. Today we're checking out the Babyface Pro from R.m.e, a compact portable interface that gives you up to 12 inputs, 12 outputs, tons of mixing capability, and easy interfacing with your iOS devices. Now you can use the Babyface Pro with your Mac or your PC. It's a full-featured audio interface at that point, and it will actually run off bus power. When you're using it with iOS, it's class compliant, which means you can just plug it straight in and your apps will recognize it. But you do have to have a power supply for that. You can use either a battery backup power supply type, or you can use a power supply that offers up to 2 amps of 12-volt DC power. The Babyface Pro comes in a hardshell case, which makes it ideal for taking on location. Now it slips inside here. There's actually a bag to protect it, and there's even slots here for the breakout MIDI cable as well as a USB cable. The Babyface Pro connects to its host using USB. It's got a standard USB port right here. So to use it with an iOS device, you need an adapter. In my case, I've got a Lightning to USB adapter, or with an iPad that doesn't have a Lightning connector, you would need to have an Apple camera kit. The Babyface Pro has 2 microphone level inputs, it has 2 instrument level inputs, 2 XLR outputs, headphone out, and there's also an optical connection that will give you up to 8 channels in and out. We have built-in MIDI I/O. There's a breakout cable, as I mentioned, that comes in the case, and that splits out to a standard MIDI input and MIDI output. So you can actually use this as a MIDI interface at the same time as you're using it as an audio interface if your app supports that. You can operate all the parameters that you need to use the Babyface Pro right from the front panel. You can select the input. Here I'm on channel 1 and 2. We can select 3 and 4, which are the instrument inputs here on the side, or we can select the optical input. When we switch over to the outputs, same thing. We can look at the standard XLR outputs here on the back. We can switch to the headphone output, or we can switch to the optical output. And the optical can operate in either 2-channel SpeedIF or 8-channel ADAT modes. The other nice thing is that all of the outputs can be set up to be active at the same time. So you can copy the signal that's going out of output 1 and 2 to the headphones and to the optical output, so all those can be fed the same signal simultaneously. We can dim any of the outputs by 20 dB by simply hitting the dim button. When you do that, the red lights come on here, and we can cycle up, say, to our main outputs and dim those down. So if you're using one set to feed your control room monitors while you have headphones doing something else, you can actually set that up to dim one of those if you want to. We also can turn phantom power on and off for our microphone preamps. So if we go back to our inputs, let's select our channel 1 and 2. If we hit the select button, we'll get a flashing light here indicating both the level of our input gain, which we can adjust here using the encoder. And if we hit the set button, we'll turn on phantom power indicated by the red light here at the bottom. So everything that you need is available from the front panel of the Babyface Pro. You can access all the parameters that you need to make recordings using your apps to play back from your synthesizers, anything that you want to use it for, just for music playback, for example. All of that can take place right here. If you want to dig a little deeper, R.m.e also offers an optional software package called Total Mix FX. And when you open the Total Mix FX app, you'll see that your Babyface Pro is connected right up here. And then we have 3 different sets of faders. We've got our input faders at the top, we've got software returns, which is the sound coming from the signal coming from your app, and at the bottom we have our hardware output. And this allows you to set up latency-free monitoring when you're recording. Each of these also has a variety of other parameters available that you can't access from the front panel. So if we hit the little wrench here and open that up, we can see that we can combine 2 channels into stereo. We can actually turn the 48-volt phantom power on and off here. We also have a pad for each channel, a gain control, and a phase switch. We also have available to us extensive EQ capabilities on the inputs and the outputs. So we've got 3-band EQ, each of those is fully parametric. We have 3 different filter styles available here. We have a low-cut filter, and you can see a graphic representation of the EQ here as well. We can mute and solo inputs, and again, we can step down here to where we're getting our signal back from our software. We can do similar kinds of things here, work on the different parameters that we need. And at the bottom, we also have settings for each of the outputs, as well as EQ for those outputs. And here we have our control room function. So again, we have that dim function and some of the other things that you'll use when you're using this more for control room monitoring. At its most basic, the Babyface Pro makes an ideal audio interface for audio playback from any of your apps. Everything from, say, a metronome. We can open one up here. When you click playback, it's going to come right out of the audio outputs there. Or if you want to do something with one of your instruments, again, you have MIDI input available to you. But if you're not using that, we can pop up here. Let's say go to Sample Tank from IK Multimedia. Let's choose keyboards. So the audio comes right out of the Babyface Pro. We don't have to change any settings. It's recognized right away because it is class compliant. The Babyface Pro also makes an ideal companion for DAW software running in your iPad. So if we pop up here, Cubasis, multi-track DAW, 4-track, ARIA, any of these work great with Babyface Pro. Let's open Cubasis here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. We'll just name it something. It doesn't really matter. And let's hide this. We'll add an audio track. And I've got a microphone set up here. This is a U47 FET reissue from Neumann. So we will pop over to our Total Mix software. Come over here, turn on our phantom power. Oops, there we go. And now we have signal coming in from our microphone. Take a look at our routing. So here we have our mono inputs. And if you check it out here, we've got 12 actual inputs. So the first two are our XLR microphone level inputs. 3 and 4 are the instrument level inputs here on the side of the Babyface Pro. And then the final 8 are the optical inputs here on the other side. So we can record 12 simultaneous inputs into Cubasis. Likewise, we have all the outputs. If we've got it set up for stereo, we have 6 different sets of stereo outputs. The main analog outputs here, the headphone outputs, and the optical outputs, and we have 8 of those available to us. Now if we record r.m.e track here, and record, check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So recording audio is just that easy. The Babyface Pro is very simple to operate. It's easy to set the gain here from the front panel or using the Total Mix Effects app. We can take it out of record mode on our channel and listen back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have extremely high quality microphone preamps there. We've got great sounding audio playback. This really is an awesome interface for combining with your iOS device. And then when you're finished, take it home to your studio, and it makes a great centerpiece for your studio rig as well. Since we have Cubasis opened here and we have the Babyface Pro connected, I want to show you a quick tech tip. The latest version of Cubasis now shows you what audio interface is active. Now, this has always been a weak spot with apps for me as far as I'm concerned, because a lot of times with an app you don't know whether you're using the internal speakers, the internal microphone, you have something external connected, but you don't know which one is actually active. Now inside of Cubasis you can actually see this. Just hit Setup, select Audio, and here at the bottom, it shows you what interface is connected. Very handy feature. I hope you've enjoyed this installment of Sweetwater's iOS Update. Be sure to tune in next time. We'll have more apps, more hardware accessories, and more tech tips on making music with your iOS devices. I'm Mitch Gallagher.